And joining me from his home office now is Mayor Graydon Smith. Graydon, thank you very much again for taking the time once again.
No problem. Great to be here.
Graydon, we had sort of an interesting weekend, which I kind of want to talk about before we move into the updates from today. Now, I think anybody with eyes could see that there was quite a bit of traffic coming through the area. So, I know that you and a few other officials, and even provincially, there have been calls to, people not to come to Muskoka. Once again, those requests seem to have fallen on deaf ears. So just wanted to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, it's, I think, in many ways unfortunate that people aren't heeding all the public health advice and are picking and choosing what they want to follow. Originally, it was me saying don't come up, but now it's the Premier, it's Dr. Tam, it's Dr. Williams in Ontario, and over the Easter weekend there were clearly more people here than at any other time in the last several weeks, which means not only did people come up and stay up, people are just coming up now, and what I really hope is that there isn't ongoing travel between Toronto and our area and back to Toronto and back and forth. We have to accept the fact that I think some people are here. If they're here, I hope they stay here and at least, stay somewhat self-isolated and ride it out at one spot rather than multiple spots.
And we haven't really seen this surge yet that's been sort of hinted at, that's, hanging over us. So is there still concern, do you think, for the hospitals to suddenly get hit and have all these people in the area that could be, needing the services?
I don't think it takes much. I think there's a Walmart worker today in Barrie that, or maybe two of them that have tested positive. And, you think about the number of interactions that can take place, usually at the retail level, whether it's groceries or some other transaction in the stores that are still open. And I think, that's how it can spread quickly. Regardless of whether there are cases in the community or not, there's still a finite number of resources, both mechanical, like ventilators and beds, and on the human side with doctors and nurses and others that are needed to provide care when it happens. So I'm very happy that nothing's happened. That's everybody's goal. At the same time, I think it's a little bit foolish to assume that nothing will happen. It could happen tomorrow. It could be happening today.
So let's talk about this extension of the emergency declaration in Ontario. That was just announced today. The Premier has, and his body have agreed that they're going to extend these measures for another 28 days. So again, curious about your thoughts on that and how that could impact Bracebridge and the tourism industry and everything in Muskoka.
Well, we've talked about the health side a lot, and obviously that's the primary concern, is the health of the public. And I know that's the motivation behind what the provincial government is doing. At the same time, business owners that have been, scared and concerned about the future of their business and their own personal incomes and the incomes of their employees, I think are, wondering even more so today, when does this end? And I'm not saying that it should end or the orders are in any way inappropriate, but the longer we are not operating normally, the more people are going to be impacted by this. And another month of this is certainly a long time. I suspect it will be even longer than that. So it just continues to be more and more difficult for people whose livelihoods are centered around normal daily life, which isn't happening.
And finally, Graydon, there's been discussion and there's going to be details coming tomorrow on shoring up the protections of long-term care homes and staff. Anything in particular you'd like to see, and considering Bracebridge has quite a few long-term care homes as well?
Well, I know that there's a move afoot through the legislation to limit where employees can be, so they have to pick one home and stay there. These homes are in some ways underserved already in terms of the number of people it takes to make a good home, and the number of personal support workers and just everybody that makes a long-term care home click. So on one hand, this puts more stress on the homes, but more importantly, I think it does provide an opportunity to stop the outbreaks that we've been seeing in long-term care facilities, because it's just devastating to read the news every day and see that yet another home has had a major outbreak. So obviously limiting the amount of contact and the number of people that are in and out of any given building should hopefully have some positive effects, but those positive effects will probably come with more stress on the existing staff, and they're in a pretty tough spot already.
All right. Mayor Graydon Smith, thank you very much for taking the time.